Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Tuesday. What's going on out there, Chad? Happy Tuesday. Hope everyone's having a lovely, fantastic day out there today. And I just want to start this off by saying I have not seen a lick, a hair, a minute, nothing of this conversation. But what I do know is that people have been losing their goddamn minds. So I hope this is good. I hope this is interesting and worth the watch. Work sucked, but I'm here. Well, I'm glad you are here, fake gamer cat. Wall Sinatra, horse cock 2028. Maybe. Maybe we can get a horse cock today. I don't know. We'll have to see. Listen to the whole thing, media lied about everything. I've just seen people losing their fucking minds about it. So I'm interested to see what it is, and we might not be able to get through the entire thing today, but we will try. So if all of you out there would kindly smash the like button, share it out on all your socials, blah, blah, blah. Streamlabs is listed down below. James77, hello. Help us get our 3 a.m. votes, and just in the interest of transparency, anything today will be used for mine and Shelly's honeymoon fun that we're going to next week. We'll be live streaming, doing all that fun stuff from the road. So if you want to help with that, that's exactly how you do it. If, and it seems possible, if we get taken down from YouTube, which can happen, you know that, I'm going to put a link in the chat here. If we get yanked with a link. Bang. And I'll pin that to the top as soon as it becomes available to pin. If we get taken down, we'll be over on Twitch. We are simulcasting to Twitch right now, but you know how it is. You know how YouTube is, and like they don't even let us do Tucker, so I don't know if we'll be able to do this. I don't know. We're rolling some dice here. Is kind of what I'm throwing out there. We are rolling some major dice by doing this, but please like and share, do all that stuff. Like I said, anything you want to pitch into the honeymoon, Streamlabs down below. The last time we were here on this scene must have been, because I have different scenes set up. Yeah. So it must have been before at least 6 weeks, and we had a 10 on the democracy train, and we're just going to keep it rolling. Fuck it, we'll start off with a 10 on the democracy train. Let's get to.
As this massive attack
I have it sped up to 1.25.
Illustrates, there's a lot of opposition to people just hearing what President Trump has to say. And but I'm honored to have this conversation. I want to emphasize it's a conversation, and it's really intended to just get a feel for what Donald Trump is just like in a conversation. So it's hard to catch a vibe about someone if you just don't hear them talk in a normal way. And when there's an adversarial interview, like no one's themselves in an adversarial interview. And this is really aimed at kind of open-minded, independent voters who are just trying to make up their mind. So you can understand, like, what is what is it just like to have a conversation?
But I think that's why people got so mad about this entire thing. This is something geared toward open-minded people, something without media control or MSNBC deciding what is said, what isn't said, all that fun stuff. I think that's what pissed people off the most.
So, honored to Donald. Great to speak. We had a great conversation yesterday. As you mentioned yesterday, if we could just record that conversation and post it would have been excellent. And I hope we can have something like that today.
Well, I think we will. I'm pretty sure we will. And congratulations, because I see you broke every record in the book with so many millions of people. And it's an honor. We view that as an honor. And then you do want silencing of certain voices. Usually those are voices that have something to say that are constructive, oftentimes constructive. And so we have to consider it an honor. But congratulations on breaking every record in the book tonight. That's great.
Well, thank you. Maybe we could start off with, the assassination attempt, which was an incredible thing. And I have to say that, your actions after that assassination attempt were inspiring. You, instead of shying away from things, instead of ducking down, you were pumping your fist in there and saying, fight, fight, fight. And I think I'm
honestly surprised that him saying fight, fight, fight was not turned into some Trump is calling for more violence. He wants more violence.
The president of the United States represents America. And I think that is America. That is strength under fire. And so that's, a big, part of the reason why I was excited to endorse you as the president of the United States for having another term here is that was just incredibly inspiring. But what was it like for you?
Not pleasant. I have to be honest. I said there was blood. I had more blood. I didn't know I had that much blood. The doctors later told me that the ear is a place that is a very bloody place if you're going to get hit. But in this case, it was probably the best alternative you could even think about because it went.
Yeah, considering how close it was, it could have been a hell of a lot worse. The media is trying to say this is an in-kind contribution to Trump. All Elon did was offer Kamala equal time and a space to negate it. But we know she won't show up. Yeah, no, there is no way that Kamala would sit down with Elon and have a conversation like this. Absolutely not.
The right angle, and it was a hard hit. It was very, I guess you would say surreal, but it wasn't surreal. I was telling somebody you have instances like this or like a lot less than this where you feel it's a surreal situation, and I never felt that way. I knew immediately that it was a bullet. I knew immediately that it was at the ear.
Yeah.
And because it hit very hard, but hit the ear. And I also heard people shout, "Bullets, bullets!" Get down, because
Who? Thank you very much, Colt. Much appreciated. Kicking us off. Who shouts bullets?
I moved down pretty nicely, pretty quickly, and we had bullets flying right over my head after I went down. So I'm glad I went down. The bigger miracle was that I was looking in the exact direction of the shooter, and so it hit me at an angle that was far less destructive than any other angle. So that was the miracle. That was for those people that don't believe in God. I think
Isn't it weird how this entire thing got memory hold in just like 3 weeks? Like, we still talk about the insurrection on January 6th. But somebody taking a shot at the president, it's just gone in a couple of weeks. No one's that interested in talking about it, are they? It's just interesting.
We got to all start thinking about that. You have to, I'm a believer now. I'm more of a believer, I think, and a lot of people have said that to me. A lot of great people have said that to me, actually. But it was amazing that I happened to be turned just at that perfect angle.
Jackie shouted bullets whenever JFK had exploded for whatever reason.
And all because I put down a chart on immigration that showed that the numbers were so great. I love that chart even more
maybe
now.
It's a sign. Maybe that's a sign,
It's an immigration sign.
You highlighted a serious issue, and at that moment,
that's right.
The bullet missed your, here, but missed your head. I mean,
the amazing thing is that the sign, I said, bring down that sign on immigration, and it was literally about an eighth of a second where it would be good, and after that it was going to be a disaster, no matter which way you were facing. But it just had that perfect angle, which was exactly at this shooter. Very sad situation. Such a sad situation. As you know, we lost somebody that was great, Corey, who a firefighter, a great gentleman, a great trumper. He was just a fantastic.
You probably shouldn't have said that. He was a great trumper.
Family and a fantastic man. And a friend of mine came up, Elon, and said, "I'd like to give the family some kind of help." And I said, "That's great." He said, "Do you mind?" I said, "I don't mind at all." And he wrote out a check for $1 million, gave it to the wife, and she said, "This is really nice, but I'd rather have my husband back," which is a nice thing for somebody to say, to be honest. She's great. The family is great. And we raised a lot of money for them and for two other gentlemen who are unbelievable people also. They were hit really badly. They thought they were not going to make it, and they did. The doctors in the Butler area, I tell you, they were incredible. That
was a little cringe. It is Trump. We have to manage our expectations.
Saved the two, and they were really hit tough, both of them, equally. And we thought, my first question was, because I heard bullets flying over me, and I said, how many people were killed? Because we had a massive crowd there, a tremendous, thousands and thousands of people. And there was no land. I mean, it was all people. So I said, how many people have been killed? Because I knew there were other shots being fired. And they said, we don't know yet, but some people have been badly hurt. And I have to give the Secret Service sniper, they call him, or sharpshooter, but sniper, because he didn't know there was a problem. He's an extraordinary shot, obviously, and he didn't know there was a problem.
Yeah, well, they knew there was a problem, Trump. Don't sit there and say they didn't know, nobody told him. They knew. He was clocked. They knew he was there.
And he was able to pick it all out within 5 seconds, and he used one bullet from very far away, I guess probably about 400 yards. The shooter was 130, but he was on the opposite side of the field and the podium, and he saw the smoke and the flame from the gun, immediately recognized it, and immediately took a shot. And it was one perfect shot from very far away. And if he didn't do that, Elon, he would have. I mean, if he would have, a lot more people could have been badly hurt and killed. So I have to take my hat off to him, because that's also a surreal. He's been with them for 23 years, and he's never had anything like this. And all of a sudden, he has to act, and it's a very tough thing to act and to be shooting somebody. But he saw the gun, saw the smoke, saw the flame from the gun, very far away. I obviously has very good eyes. He's got very good vision, which I.
Okay, is there like timestamps? Can we skip ahead of this? I don't. Let's just jump like to 10 minutes. Hello, YouTube.
In the grand.
Hello, YouTube.
Used one bullet from very far away, I guess.
I think most people people are wondering how on earth could such a thing happen.
Well, I view it as two ways. There should have been nobody on the roof. There were people, because there were so many tens of thousands.
There were not people hanging out on there. Oh my God.
The people there. There were people that were seeing him, and there was one woman with a red shirt and Trump all over it, and she's screaming. That guy's got a gun. You saw it probably. There's a guy up there with a gun.
I mean, it's like I'm just. I guess. I mean, for my part, and I think probably many members of the public are wondering how the heck are basically people wandering by it, pointing out there's a guy on the roof with a gun. And they're seeing it, but somehow it's not being addressed.
Okay, we know, I know, you know, everyone knows that they just ignored the guy on the roof with the gun. Like it is exactly what happened. There is no denying it. The Secret Service ignored a guy on the roof with a gun.
That does seem crazy.
Well, they're going to learn from this.
The bitch got fired because they ignored the guy on the roof with the gun. It is what it is.
It's the communication between the local police, who sort of had an idea, and then ultimately a man lifted himself up to the roof, could barely do it because he was pulling himself up. And
guys, we're about 20 minutes into this. If YouTube is going to hide any stream I have ever done, it's going to be this one. So I'm asking kindly if you would hit the like, share it out, all that fun stuff. That is greatly, greatly appreciated. If we do get ganked, as the pinned comment says, we will be over on the Twitch. Because it's completely possible that we will get taken down. And if you want to support all that stuff, you know exactly how to do that. Streamlabs is listed down below. That's greatly, greatly appreciated.
And he saw the man with the gun. The man with the gun pointed the gun at him. He thought he was probably going to get shot, but he was like pulling himself up. And because of that, he couldn't get to his gun, and he fell down. Actually, very badly hurt his leg, his ankle. I hear very badly, but he fell down. And he did, from what I understand, he did say there's a guy up there with a gun. And the shooting started very quickly after that. I think it forced the shooter to go maybe quicker. You're supposed to be a very good shot.
Yeah.
My sons, Don and Eric, they can't believe what.
Oh yeah, this was definitely hidden on YouTube. Do you have a hard time finding it? I didn't even get a notification for it on my own device, so probably not. Yeah.
What happened? But they said
not in your subscription fee. Okay.
From 130 yards, a bad shot would hit that target almost every time. They said it's like in golf, sinking a 2-foot putt.
Yeah, it's not a tough shot.
It's not a long shot. The Secret Service person had the long shot. He had triple the distance actually. So it was a terrible thing. It's hard. I have to say this about the Secret Service. When I went down, and I went down based on, I think they're screaming, but other people also, because people saw this happen. You had so many people. One of the miracles was that nobody ran. I mean, if a gun goes off, the crowd control people showed us this. When guns go off, and it does happen in stadiums at a soccer match or some kind of a match, everybody flees. They call it a stampede, like cattle. But everybody, and a lot of people get killed with those stampedes. We had more people than you'd have at some of these matches or these games, and nobody left. You had a small group behind us in the grandstand, and that was full. And you look at it as it was taking place, and normally they'd be running. They didn't leave. They saw that I was hurt. They saw a lot of blood, and they saw that I went down, and it's almost like they wanted to be with me. Well, out front, you had thousands, tens of thousands of people. As far as the eye could see, you had people in Butler, as far as the eye could see. And a lot of press too. There was, many cameras on watching this. It's what makes it so different, because normally things happen that aren't good, but you never have a picture of it. Here we have all these cameras shooting it. So, sort of amazing. But one of the interesting things was that you didn't have anybody flee. You didn't have anybody stampede.
Sure.
Nobody. And there were some people behind me. They stood up and they're looking like, I'll tell you, you want to have them in a foxhole with you. I want to meet some of those people because it's so different from what you heard.
Okay, we're skipping ahead a little bit.
They were just relieved and happy and thrilled, and the place went crazy. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It was a terrible thing, but it was
incredibly moving. Yeah. Well, and I mean, speaking of the sort of slide that got you to turn that saved your life, really, was the illegal immigration slide. Maybe this it's worth talking about that.
It was
that slide saved your life.
No, the illegal immigration saved my life. You're right, but it had to be at that exact angle.
I mean, that's
okay. How long do we talk about the shooting?
Especially unvetted illegal immigration, because and that's not the same as saying that everyone who's an illegal immigrant is bad. In fact, I think most people who are illegal immigrants are actually good, but you can't tell a difference unless there's a solid vetting of who comes across the border. Does that accurately represent your position?
I say it very simply. They have to come in legally. They have to be checked.
Yeah.
Because look, Kamala was the border czar. Now she's denying it. Everything that I do, she's saying she was strong on the border. We're going to be strong. Well, she doesn't have to say it. She could close it up right now. They could do things right now. It's horrible.
I asked this question to Polly, and I still have not gotten a good. I think, well, not saying that he can't give me a good answer, but I want to know what Kamala is supposed to do when she's president. What can she run on doing that she doesn't have the power or the capability of at least trying to bring forward right now? What can she do then? I know what the answer is, but we have to be realistic.
No tax on tips, and all of a sudden she's making a speech and there will be no tax on tips. I said that months ago. And by the way, they had just the opposite. They had not only tax on tips, but they hired 88,000 IRS agents, and many of them were assigned to go get waitresses and caddies and all of this on tips. They have a policy. They had a policy that they were really going to go after you. And we're really harassing people horribly. And then all of a sudden, for politics, she says, she comes out with what I said, which I think is terrible. And I think it's also hitting them very hard. These people are fake. Now they're also saying they did a good job on the border. We had the worst numbers in the history of the world, not of our country. There's never been a country in history.
It's because the people are fake. Literally every single one of them are fake. They will only do something if they feel they can gain from it or they can run on it. And that's just politics writ large. This is not just Democrats. Republicans do the exact same thing. Why fix an issue when you need to be reelected so you can just run on fixing it?
That has had a catastrophe like this. We've had, I believe, and I think you believe this too, you hear 12 million, 13, I believe it's over 20 million people came into our country, many coming from jails, from prisons, from mental institutions, or a bigger version of that is insane asylums, and many are terrorists. And I'll tell you what, they're coming not just from South America, they're coming from Africa, they're coming from all over the world. They're coming from Asia, they're coming from the Middle East, they're coming from countries that are...
They're coming from countries that aren't even connected. They have to get boats, and somebody's funding it. That's just a fact. Somebody is funding this excursion.
Stupidly and horribly bombing Israel October 7th. They're coming from all over the world. And you look at, it's so sad October 7th, because it should have never happened. Yeah. It's so sad when you look at Ukraine. It should have never happened. And
that's another thing I need to figure. I want to know very much is how is the Biden administration going to, the Kamala administration, how are they going to rectify with what, like, the hard left's absolute disdain of Israel compared to how much political power that Israel has?
A defective government. These are defective people, and they're not people that should be running it. But where you see it the best is the border, because you have millions of people coming in a month, and then she gets up and she tries to pretend like she's going to do something. She had 3.5 years. And by the way, they have another 5 months that they can do something, but they won't do anything. It's all talk. She's incompetent and he's incompetent. And frankly, I think that she's more incompetent than he is. And that's saying something, because he's not too good.
Yeah, no, I think it is essential to have a secure border. I mean, you're really not a country unless you have a secure border, and
secure elections.
Yeah, absolutely secure elections, and so it's just essential to have a real border, or we can't function as a country, and our service, our central services are being overwhelmed in a lot of cities. But as we were talking about earlier, I think having a legal immigration process that is smooth and efficient and done well. And I'm speaking as someone who is a legal immigrant, I think that
we don't have that. We don't have any of that.
I mean, like, one way to think of it is, who do you want on your team? Who do you want on Team America? And I think we want to just say, okay, we want to let in people who are going to be great contributors to our society and to our economy, and and who do you want on the team? And it's not to say that, like, in my opinion, actually, I'd say, like, probably most of the illegal immigrants actually are actually good, hardworking people. That's my opinion. But some are not. And
though that's the thing, is that this is an issue where we don't check. We don't know, and we aren't talking honestly about it. While sure, some are probably good, there is a plurality of ones that are not, and the ones that are not are literally making everything bad.
And you just have this sort of adverse selection process where, if somebody's, if somebody's like has a career in theft or robbery, I don't understand what's taken them so long to get here, because we're such a target-rich environment. I mean, why aren't more people who have a career in, bad things coming here sooner? Because it's a piece of cake to go rob, houses in LA or New York, compared to other parts of the world. And in a lot of places in America, if you try to stop the person who's robbing you, you'll be arrested.
Yeah. That is where we're at. We have somehow convinced people that they are okay to live in a country where self-defense is looked down upon and protecting yourself and your property is bad. I don't know how we got here, but we are here indeed.
It's insane.
It's right. I mean, what's happening with crime, and our police are so good, but they're not allowed to do their job. But I have to tell you, Elon, I
They're
hate
not.
to say it because it's such a downer to say it. I hate to say it. I hate it. But you have a lot of people that just shouldn't be. I think it's a much bigger number than you think. They're
I
allowing
think you're
again.
right.
They're
Yeah.
allowing people from their jails. And if you were running one of these countries where they're coming from, you would have had all of them. As an example, Venezuela, their crime is down 72%. They're taking their drug dealers. They're taking, frankly, their prisoners. They're emptying out their prisons. They're taking their criminals, their murderers, their rapists, and they're
Yeah.
delivering them into
But
these.
that's what Castro did.
Yeah,
That
well, he did on a much smaller scale.
yeah.
It was a much smaller
Yeah.
scale. But this is a massive scale because this is being done worldwide. But here's what's happening: crime all over the world is down. And wait till you see the numbers that we have. You know, this is migrant crime. This is crime that's going to be.
Yeah.
And I saw it today in New York, where somebody was knifed, where they raped the girlfriend of a man that stood there watching in New York in one of the shelters, and started
Sure.
pulling out the knives, and bad things happen today. But this is happening every day. These are rough people. These are people that are in jail for
Yeah.
murder and all sorts of things, and they're releasing them into our country, and they're telling them, if you come back, we're going to kill you. We're going to give you the death penalty or kill you. So they don't want to come back. But these are rough people.
Yeah.
These are criminals that make our criminals look like nice.
It doesn't, and okay, we got to follow me on this one. It doesn't really matter if we let in 1,000 and 5 are bad. Those 5 are bad because the 1,000 got let in. That's just a fact. So if those 1,000 want to get in, they have to go through the proper channels, fill out the proper paperwork, etc., etc. And it's what we should be doing. It is insane to me that we, as a nation that we are, with the issues that we have, are not doing this.
People, and it's horrible what they're doing, and she's in charge of it, because now she's trying to say she
Sure.
had nothing to do with it, and she's such a liar, because she was called the border czar the first day, and it was on the headlines of every newspaper. She's the border czar, and she never even went there. She went to one location which had nothing to do with where the problem is. She went in and out, I
Right.
guess, because she was getting a lot of press,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
had nothing to do with the problem
Yeah.
is. But she was the
Well.
border czar, and people
Yeah. Yeah.
can't allow them to get away with their disinformation campaign. Now she's trying to say that she wasn't. She wasn't really involved, and the whole thing is horrible. She was totally in charge. She could have shut the border down without him. He didn't know what he was doing anyway, so he wouldn't have even known
Yeah.
what happened. You could shut the border down; he
Yeah.
wouldn't even know the difference. But the fact is that she was border czar. But if you don't have to call her
Yes.
that, the fact is you could just call her. She was in charge of the border, and the border was the worst
Right.
ever.
It's simply not working.
No, it's
I mean,
horrible.
whether it's whether it's a question of intention or competence, either way, we don't have a secure border, and we have people streaming over like it looks like a World War Z zombie apocalypse at times. And sometimes you got to sort of wonder, like, is it real or not? So because you see things, you're like, is it real? So I went to the border at Eagle Pass, and I saw for myself in Texas, and I was like, okay, it's real. I'm like seeing this in real time. I actually posted the video like just live. I just flew there one day and just to see, hey, is this made up or real? And I'm just seeing people stream across the border, and I have to say, at least the people that I saw did not look friendly. So
These are
people can look at my video and say,
Yeah.
hey, these people look friendly. I don't look super friendly. So
These are people that Elon would not.
It's because they're not super friendly. They are actively hostile to me, you, how we live, etc., etc.
Not be the same man if he had to walk across the street and look these people in the eye. These are rough people. These are really rough people coming across. And I know rough people. And these are people that we don't want in our country. And the caravans are coming in, and they're putting, and who's doing this are the heads of the countries. And you would be doing
Yeah.
it, and so would I. And everyone would say, oh, what a terrible thing to say. The fact is, it's brilliant for them, because they're taking all of their bad people, really bad people. And I hate to say this, the reason the numbers are much bigger than you would think is they're also taking their non-productive people. Now, these aren't people that will kill you. We have enough of them, but these are people that are non-productive. They are just non-productive. I mean, for whatever reason, they're not
Yeah, yeah.
workers, or they don't want to work, or whatever. And these countries are getting rid of non-productive people in the caravans in many cases, and they're also getting rid of their murderers and their drug dealers and the people that are really brutal people. And they're coming into our country
Yeah.
at levels that have never been seen before. And I saw an ad just before I got on the air. I'm walking over here, and I saw an ad by Kamala saying how she is going to provide border security. Where has she been for 3.5 years? For 3.5 years.
Yeah, no, this is
Again, it's something that you are running on, but currently have the power to do. Now, I, shockingly, am no Kamala fan. I know, fucking crazy. But if she would turn around right now and actually work on the issue and put something toward fixing it, then maybe that could earn a vote.
We have 20 million people for it. It's a terrible.
Yeah, I think this, frankly, I think this is a fundamental existential issue for the United States. And if we have another 4 more years of open borders, and it's going to be even worse with another 4 more years, it's going to be even worse than it's been for the past 3.5 years. I'm not sure we've got a country.
You don't have a country left. Elon, if they get in, you will have 50 to 60 million people from all over the world, not South America only. You know, we think of South America, we think of Honduras and El Salvador, Guatemala, and Mexico, you know, the 4. But it's not that. It's everywhere. They're coming in from everywhere. And I had to stay in Mexico.
Yeah, I think this is a super important point. Like people, it's like basically when I went down there, I was like, well, where are people from? It's like almost no one was from Mexico.
No, Mexico less.
It's just the border. It's just the border with Mexico. But the people coming in, it's Earth, the rest of Earth, and America is only about 4 or 5% of the population of Earth. It would only take a few percent of the rest of Earth to overwhelm everything. In
We're
the US.
already overwhelmed, Elon. We're overwhelmed. You had to see the news tonight about New York, and I love that place. And what they're doing to it is horrible. What they're doing to it, and all the courts do is they try and focus on Trump. Okay, let's focus on Trump, who did nothing wrong. I complain about a rigged election. Elon, what's happened is unbelievable. You have from Africa. From the Congo, they're coming from the Congo, and 22 people came in from the Congo recently, and they're murderers, and they're dropped. They drop them. They take them out of jails, which is very expensive, to maintain the jails. Although they don't do too much maintaining, I can tell you. But they take them out of jails, prisons. They take them out, and they bring them to the United States.
So we're basically the human waste receptacle for all of these countries who don't want to deal with their own problems. They just want to go, yeah, this person, they're a bad egg. We don't really want them. There's a boat leaving. They just put them on the boat. Bye. That's how they view us, because our gracious leaders on both sides of the aisle decide that they're okay with us being the human waste receptacle of the world for some reason. God knows, I don't know, but it's where we're at.
They deposit them in the United States and say, don't ever come back or you're going to be executed. And they don't want to come back, but they won't come back.
Sure.
But they're coming from Africa. They're coming from Asia. They're coming from the Middle East. They're coming from South America. They're coming from everywhere. And there are a lot of really bad ones.
It's just an everywhere on Earth thing, and it's just not possible for the United States to absorb everyone from Earth, or even a few percent of the rest of Earth. It's just not possible. So,
well, Elon, we're going to have to finish this up. We're going to have the largest deportation in history of this country, and we have no choice. Otherwise, we're going to have a country what they've done to our country. Think of it. With in Venezuela and in some of these other countries, crime is down 50, 60, 70, 80%. And you would be the same. You would have. Yeah. I'll tell you what, Venezuela has not gotten rid of all of them. They've gotten rid of about 70% of their really bad people. Their jails are about 50% put into the United.
Venezuela is an entire shithole that I don't even know where to begin trying to fix that.
States. Same with other countries.
Sure.
Some are at 30%, some are at 50%. They're all different. But the bottom line is they're all going to be at 100%. Why wouldn't you put 100% of it? And they're doing it right now while this third-rate phony candidate. Don't forget, I beat Biden. He failed in the debate miserably. And, some people said, oh, gee, it's too bad. It's too bad he did so badly, or I did well in the debate. The first night they said, wow. One of the people at CNN said that was the greatest debate performance I've ever witnessed. And then 2 days later, they didn't talk about that. They just said he was bad. But that's okay. That's the way I get treated, and I don't mind that at all. What I can tell you is this. We cannot have a Democrat. We cannot have her. She's incompetent. She's as bad as Biden in a different...
Yeah.
Look, she hasn't done an interview since this whole scam started. And say what you want. This was a coup. This was a coup of a president of the United States. He didn't want to leave, and they said, we can do it the nice way, or we can do it the hard way.
Yeah, they just took him out back behind the shed and basically shot him.
What they did with this guy, and I'm no...
Yeah, he's not been seen out, has he? Like, he's been hidden.
Fan of his, and he was a horrible president, the worst president in history. And one of the reasons he was so bad, first of all, the Israeli attack would have never happened. Russia would never have attacked Ukraine, and we'd have no inflation. And we wouldn't have had the Afghanistan mess, if you think of it. Well, and we wouldn't have had Afghanistan. But we think of it. You take a few of those events.
Seriously, has Biden been seen out since he got on the wrong plane? Viper, you can go away right now. I don't know if we're getting the horse cock tonight.
away and we have a different world, we would also have inflation
yeah.
was caused by oil.
Yeah, no, I think you're making an excellent point here, which is that when other countries can, that are, are thinking about invading or doing bad things, when they're thinking about that, they're thinking about, okay, what's the American president going to do, and do they fear the American president, or is there someone they do not respect?
Right now they don't respect. Nobody even knows where he is. Nobody has seen him since he tried to get on the wrong plane. They are keeping him way, way out of sight. What do I want for dinner, chat? I don't know, but I know that I want to see a Witcher.
Do not fear, and I think they would rightfully be. I mean, look at the footage of the assassination. They're like, okay, President Trump is like, don't mess with me. I mean, that's like, whereas I think people are not going to be, and they obviously have not been at all intimidated by Biden, and they certainly will not be intimidated by Kamala. And you have to really think of that in the context of.
I don't think anybody in reality would be intimidated by Kamala.
Global security. That's if the American president is someone that, like, evil dictators are scared of, that makes a huge difference to the security of the world.
So I had a good relationship with Putin, despite the Russia hoax that lasted for over 2 years. Just a hoax created by Hillary Clinton and Adam Shifty Schiff, some just bad people, just sick people, frankly. I mean, Schiff is a sick person. He's going to end up probably being a senator. It's hard to believe. The whole thing is hard to believe. But, they put our country in danger with that stuff, too. They actually, when they make up stories, and you have to fight your way out of it for a long time. But I know Putin very well. I got along with him very well. He respected me, and it's just one of those things. And we would talk a lot about Ukraine. It was the apple of his eye. But I said, don't ever do it. Don't ever do it. I shut down Nord Stream 2. That was the big oil pipeline, the biggest pipeline in the world going all over Europe. I shut it down. Biden came, and then they say, I loved Russia. I was a friend of Putin, and I loved Russia. No, he actually said to me one time, he said, if you're my friend, I'd hate to see you as an enemy. I shut down his pipeline, the biggest pipeline. They were looking at that to fund, and this pathetic president gets in there, and the first thing he did, one of the early things he.
Breaking news, the UAW is filing labor charges against Trump and Elon over strike remarks. What? Seriously? God, please. Get fucking real. Oh, boy.
Did is he shut down Keystone XL pipeline, which is our pipeline that would have employed 48,000 people, pipeline workers, shuts it down. That was, a massive job.
That was like day one, too. And he never lied about it. Day one, he said, we're shutting down the pipeline, and that's how we're going to start this lovely journey.
That Obama refused to allow. Yeah. I allowed it in my first week because it was jobs and it moved oil. And by the way, in a much more environmentally friendly way. It's underground. It's not a truck that catches on fire or a train that catches on fire. But think of it. He shut down the XL pipeline, the Keystone XL pipeline. Yeah. He shuts that down, and he approves the Russian pipeline.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's inconsistent. Certainly, but I mean, I think it's just worth emphasizing, to listeners, the immense importance of whether the United States president is intimidating or not intimidating, and how much that matters to global security. Because there's some real tough characters out there, and if they don't think the American president is tough, they will do what they want to do.
I know every one of them,
and that puts the whole world in danger.
Elon, I know every one of them, and I know them well. I know Putin. Yeah. I know President Xi. I know Kim Jong-un of North Korea. I know every one of them. And let me tell you, people say, "Oh,
yeah, Trump cut." He got on the. Oh, let me see if I can find the video clip. It is fucking hilarious. Biden, wrong plane. Guys, we are almost 10. No? Yes. 2. Sorry. We're almost 2% to goal. If you want to help us get there, smash a like, share it out, do all that fun stuff. Streamlabs is listed down below, and that is exactly how you do it. Here we go. Found the video. Take a look. He's just wandering along the tarmac. And he just wanders on the wrong plane. He's in there for about 2 full minutes before he comes back out. It's bad. It's bad.
This is terrible. He said, I'm not saying anything good or bad. They're at the top of their game. They're tough, they're smart, they're vicious, and they're going to protect their country. Whether they love their country, they probably do. It's just a different form of love, but they're going to protect their country. But these
Yeah.
are tough people at the top of their game. And when they see a Kamala or when they see Biden, Sleepy Joe, they can't even believe it. They can't believe this happened. All the stuff that you're seeing now, all the horror that you look at Israel, they're all waiting for an attack from Iran. Iran would not be attacking, believe me. You know, when I was there, and I say it with respect, because I think we would have been good with Iran. I don't want to do anything bad to Iran, but they knew not to mess around. Iran was broke because I told China, if you buy from Iran oil, it's all about the oil. That's where the money is. But if you buy oil from Iran, you're not going to do any business with the United States. And I meant it. And they said, we'll pass. They didn't buy oil. Other countries, likewise.
Sure.
You want to buy, you're not doing business with the United States. And they were at a point where they had no money for Hamas. They had no money for Hezbollah. They had no money for any of these instruments of terror. And it was amazing. In fact, there were articles when I was leaving, which is hard to believe, actually, especially when you look at what's happened to our country. Our country is so bad right now. It's such a different place. We were respected. Think of it. 4 years ago, we were so respected to a point where when I said don't buy oil, they didn't buy oil. But they had no money, and Israel would have never been attacked. Zero chance. And again, I said to Vladimir Putin, I said, don't do it. You can't do it, Vladimir.
He might have a point there.
You do it, it's going to be a bad day. You cannot do it. And I told him things that what I do, and he said, no way. And I said, way. And you know, it's the last time we ever had the conversation. He would never have done. I got along well with him. I hope to get along.
Oh my God, I got to hear that again.
And I told him things that what I do, and he said, no way. And I said, way. And you know, it's the last time.
He said, no way. I said, way, Putin, way.
We ever had the conversation. He would never have done. I got along well with him. I hope to get along well with him again. You know, getting along well with them is a good thing, not a bad thing. I got along well with Kim Jong-un. When I met with President Obama just before entering, you know, it's a sort of a ritual. And I sat down with him and we talked. It was supposed to be for a very short period of time. It turned out to be a long period of time. I said, what's the biggest problem? He said, North Korea. I had that problem worked out very quickly. It was nasty at the beginning with Rocket Man and, you know, all the different things.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden I got a call.
Those were some epic tweets, by the way.
Yeah, they
Those
were.
like,
No, they were
absolutely...
epic. Everything. He said that he has a red button on his desk. I said, I have a red button on my desk too, but my red button is much bigger, and my red button works. And then I called him Little Rocket Man of Little Rocket Man. Anyway, here's the bottom line. All of a sudden, I got a call from him, and they said they want to meet. They want to meet me, and we met.
Yeah.
As you remember, we met in Singapore. We met also in Vietnam. And I got along with him great. We were in no danger. But President Obama thought we were going to end up in a war, a nuclear war with him. And let me tell you, he's got a lot of nuclear stuff, too.
Exactly.
He's got plenty of...
Okay, yeah, we get it. You got along with him, but that they are still a threat.
Nuclear. He can do plenty of damage. So
yes, I mean, it's because, you know, I mean, people like Kim Jong-un, they respond to strength, not weakness.
Well...
And
he and I had a good relationship.
You know,
remember I met him and we walked onto his land. Nobody ever walked onto his land before. I walked onto. I wouldn't say let's bring up Secret Service again. I wouldn't say they were thrilled when I did that. I walked onto his land, and it was an amazing period. But we were not in danger with him because of me. You know, I always say that we have enemies on the.
All right, I'm gonna have to take down the democracy train. I guess they're not feeling democratic.
The outside, and we have enemies on the inside. We have some really bad people in our government. And people that are controlling of the people. I mean, I'd mention names, but I really don't want to give them the credit. But we have some really bad, and I say they're more dangerous than Russia and China. If you have a smart president, a president that gets it, we are not in danger from those countries because they need us and they need our help.
I will say, I think he has a point here that the United States is probably more in danger from the threats that are within the country than outside of it.
I mean, we forced Obama, if you think about it, Obama and Biden, and Bush to a certain extent, in all fairness, forced Russia and China together. And if you're a history student, the first thing you learn is you cannot let Russia and China align. But then they also got, if you take a look, Iran, and they have North Korea. That's, you know, they call it the axis of evil. In the old days, you had the axis of evil. Here we have a modern day axis of evil. These are powerful countries, very heavy nuclear, which is the biggest threat.
Yeah.
You know, the biggest threat is not global warming, where the ocean's going to rise 1/8 of an inch over the next 400 years. And you'll have more oceanfront property, right? The biggest threat is not that. The biggest threat is nuclear warming, because we have 5 countries now that have significant nuclear power, and we have to not allow anything to happen with stupid people like Biden. You know, Biden did something with Russia. There was no chance of him ever going in. And when I left, and then after I left, they started forming big armies on the border with Ukraine, right? And I looked at that, and I thought he was doing that because Putin's a good negotiator. I thought he was doing that to negotiate. But then Biden started saying such stupid things. For instance, he said that it can be a NATO country. Now, Russia, for as long as there's been NATO, has said we're never going to agree to that. And we go right up front and say that. And we did things and said things through this president with a low IQ, very low IQ.
That's fucking hilarious. See, this is the Trump that needs to come back.
He had a low IQ 30 years ago, by the way, but now...
Guys, the democracy thing is a joke for a donation that I have. I'm okay.
He might not even have a IQ at all. There's nothing on the board that goes this low. He said things that were so stupid that war had zero chance of happening if I were there. Zero chance. He was saying everything the opposite. Everything the opposite. And it's so sad because many more people have been killed in Ukraine than you read about. You don't read about how bloody it is and how disastrous.
Sure.
Hey, look, just in the two armies, you lost 500,000 people. And you know, Ukraine's having a hard time. Ukraine, I don't know if you saw the article recently, and it's true. You don't hear the true story. But if you think about it, Russia's gone, you know, Russia defeated Germany with us, and they defeated Napoleon. You know, they've been around a long time. They're a big fighting force. And it's very unfair. And Ukraine now doesn't have enough men. They're now using young men and very old men to fight. And we're in a very bad position.
And we're paying for this, by the way.
And I'm not going to blame exclusively, but I can tell you I could have stopped that. And a smart president could have stopped that. It wouldn't have happened. But we had a man that actually made it more prevalent. It was so bad. The words that he was using, the stupid threats coming from a stupid face that he was using. I said, this guy's going to cause us a war. He's going to cause us. And let me tell you, it can lead to World War III. That can lead to World War III. The Middle East can lead to. We have numerous places that could end up in a World War III right now for no reason whatsoever.
I think you're right. I think people underrate the risk of World War III, and it's just you know, when you're looking at the risk of global thermonuclear warfare, it's
God damn it! I was muted, motherfucker. The issues with over in Ukraine and Israel and Gaza and all that stuff were 150% exacerbated by this unbelievably regarded administration. That things have been made so much more significantly worse by the comments and the money and everything going on, helping them, not only on our side of it, but for the people who live there. God damn it.
Game over for humanity. And you know, it's something that people have, I think, after the end of the Cold War, people have become complacent about, but they actually have forgotten that there are currently a lot of nuclear missiles that have targeting parameters for the United States from other
100%.
countries.
And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to build an Iron Dome over us. You know, Israel has it. We're going to have the
that we paid for
best Iron Dome in the world. We need it, and we're going to make it all in the United States. But we're going to have protection because it just takes one maniac to start something. We're going to have protection, and we're going to have. Why shouldn't we have an Iron Dome? Israel has one. Some other places have one that nobody even knows about, frankly. But Israel has it. We're going to have an Iron Dome. But with all of that being said, to me that's so important, the most important. But with all of that being said, the election's coming up, and the people want to hear about the economy. And the fact that they can't buy groceries because they don't have enough money to buy groceries. The inflation has killed them. Food prices are up 50, 60, even 100% in some cases. And this stupid administration allowed this to happen. And it's a shame. And that's the thing that people most care about, in my opinion. They care about the border a lot. And we discuss the border at great length. It's nice to have a forum like this where I can discuss something at length. And by the way, you think Biden could do this interview? Do you think that Kamala could do this interview? They would take a pass on you.
No, they could not.
They don't need Elon. They don't need Elon screaming out questions. It's pretty sad when you think that somebody that does this for a living can't answer a question or is afraid to do an interview. And in her case, with a very friendly interview, she's got all friendly interviewers. It's pretty sad.
Absolutely.
But the big thing now is the economy, Elon.
Yeah.
And as much as I mean, I view nuclear as the single most important thing, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't understand that. But it doesn't have to. If I understand it, that's all you need. Because if I was president, you're not going to have that kind of a problem. But the thing that they really is making them angry is what Kamala and Biden have allowed to happen to the economy. It's a disaster.
And the reason why it is the way it is because we've printed off so much money to send over to Ukraine, to Israel, for reasons.
with inflation. The inflation, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter what you make. The inflation is eating you alive. If you're a worker or if you're just a middle income person, you can't afford. 4 years ago, 5 years ago, people were saving a lot of money. Today, they're using
Yeah.
all their money and borrowing money just to live. It's a horrible thing
Right.
that's happening, and we'll end that
Well, I
quickly.
think a lot of a lot of people just don't understand where inflation comes from. Inflation comes from government overspending because the checks never bounce when it's written by the government. So if the government spends far more than it brings in, that increases the money supply, and if the money supply increases faster than the rate of goods and services, that's inflation. So really, we need to have we need to reduce our government spending, and we need to re-examine. I think we need like a government efficiency commission to say like, hey, where are we spending money that's sensible? Where is it not sensible? And we need to live within our means. We're currently adding, I think, $1 trillion to the deficit roughly every 100 days.
That's right.
And the interest payments on the national debt have now exceeded the defense budget. It's on the order of $1 trillion.
It's interest.
And it keeps
I
growing.
rebuilt our military, largely rebuilt our military, did a great job
That's true.
on it, which was so important. We had jets, we had fighters that were, and bombers that were 70 years old. And we did a great job in that. Then we gave 85 billion of it back to Afghanistan, if you can believe it. We gave them 85 billion. They're one of the largest.
And that's somehow considered a good thing. Well, Biden ended wars. Did he really?
Largest sellers of military equipment in the world. They're selling what we gave them. That was one of the most embarrassing days in the history of our country. But if you think about, let's go back to the economy. We have to bring energy prices down. Energy started at the price of gasoline. Now your cars don't require too much gasoline, so you have a good, and you do make a great product. I have to say, I have to be honest with you. That doesn't mean everybody should have an electric car, but these are minor details. But your product is incredible. But the gasoline, Elon, is the cost of energy. Not only gasoline, it's the cost of heating your house and cooling your house. That has to come down. It's gone up 100%, 150, and 200%, and that has to come down.
My electric bill just for my studio came out today at $170. I'm here 6 hours a day, 5 to 6 days a week.
Down. When that comes down, and we're going to drill, baby, drill. They stopped drilling, and then they went back to drilling because they went back to the Trump policy. But if they won, the day after they get into office, this country will go out of business because they're going to go to an energy policy that's not sustainable, wind and different things. You're not going to have anything. And I know you're a big fan of the AI, and I have to say that AI, and this is shocking to me, but AI requires twice the energy that the country already produces for everything. So we're going to have to build a lot of energy if our country will be competitive with China, because that's our primary competitor for this on the AI. You're going to need a lot of electricity. You're going to need tremendous electricity, like almost double what we produce now for the whole country, if you can believe it.
Sure. Well, just going, back to this, like this basic thing, which that people try to make it sound complicated, but it's not. But inflation is caused by government overspending. Would you agree that we need to take a look at government spending and have perhaps a government efficiency commission that just tries to make the spending sensible and so the country lives within its means, just like a person
The
does?
waste is incredible, and nobody negotiates prices. You used to have a lot of people making jets, and you end up with two companies, and they'll probably try and merge at some point. I went through it like Air Force, just a thing like Air Force One. One of the first documents they asked me to sign, a general said, "Sir, would you please sign this document?" And what is it? Air Force One. That's with Boeing, which is basically two planes, two 747s. And the price was $5.7 billion for two planes. Now they're highly sophisticated.
That's insane.
They're even nicer than your plane, okay? But much more sophisticated. I won't say what's on it, but they got a lot of stuff on it. Anyway, but it's 5.7.
That's a crazy
It's
number.
a crazy number. But I said, I'm not going to pay 5.7. I'm not going to do it. I said, who made the deal? Obama and his people. I said, well, then I know the deal's no good. I'm not going to
Talking facts.
do it. And over a course of about 4 weeks, by my saying I'm not going to do it, I got the price reduced by $1.6 billion for the exact same plane, other than we had a nicer paint job, if you want to know the truth. But for the exact same plane, I saved one. And I said to Boeing, man, you guys must make a lot of money if you can reduce the price by that. But now what I do hear is that they're going back to the Biden administration and wanting big cost overruns,
And not to mention all the money tax money we gave them for their bailouts and all that fun stuff, because we did such a good job with that.
Because they see these dopey suckers in there, and they'll end up getting some of the money back. But I shaved it by $1.6 billion for the exact same plane. And you can now take that and multiply that out times thousands of other items.
Multiply it by a
the
zillion,
numbers are
and
astronomical. I agree with you.
Well, I mean, I mean, I think it would be great to just have a government efficiency commission that takes a look at these things and just ensures that the taxpayer money, the taxpayers' hard-earned money, is spent in a good way. And I'd be happy to help out on such a commission
I'd love
if
it.
it were formed.
Well, you're the greatest cutter. I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, "You want to quit?" They go on strike.
Yeah.
I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike, and you say, "That's okay. You're all gone. You're all gone." So every one of you is gone, and you are the greatest. You would be very good. Oh, you would love it. But if you look at Argentina.
Well, I'd be happy
Yeah,
to
by
help
the way,
out.
congratulations. I
Yeah.
just looked at the number of people that are listening to you and I chat. We'll call it a chat, but
Yeah.
congratulations. This is very good. I mean, it's great. And you're an interesting character. The new head of a place called Argentina, and he's a big,
Malay's
he's
awesome.
he's great. And
Yeah.
he's a big MAGA fan, that he ran on MAGA, and he took it to an
Make Argentina. Okay, yeah.
extreme too. He ran on MAGA, and I hear he's doing really a terrific job. It's called Make Argentina Great Again. It worked out perfectly. He came in, he bought a lot of hats, he brought everything, but he's doing a big job. He really cut. And I'm hearing
Yeah.
they're starting to do pretty well. Inflation's getting down. They had like
Yes, exactly.
2,000%. And they had inflation like not normal inflation. They had the real deal. But we're going to
Yeah.
have that pretty soon. We have, I think we
Yeah.
have the worst inflation we've had in 100 years. They say it's 48 years. I don't believe it. I think we have the worst. They
Yeah.
don't include a lot of the items that should be included.
Yeah. Well, it's just from government overspending and not spending taxpayer money
Yeah.
effectively, and having just like so many departments you can't even name them all. And what Milei is doing is he's cutting government spending. He's simplifying things. He's having putting in regulations that make sense. And we're Argentina overnight is experiencing a giant improvement
That's
in
right.
prosperity. But it's also a lesson for the United States, which is that Argentina used to be one of the most prosperous countries in the world.
Right.
In the like in the 30s, 40s, and because of bad government policy, it ruined the country. And if you take Venezuela, for example, Venezuela should be incredibly prosperous. They have phenomenal reserves of everything, oil, everything, and it should be prosperous. But if the government's wrong, it impoverishes the people. And so I think we should.
But the government doesn't care about the people. You know about the Boeing space capsule that will now be permanently attached to the space station because it's too dangerous to undock it, right? There's only 2 ports on the ISS, so if the second one gets stuck, the ISS becomes a tomb. Ooh, I did not know that. Do you have an article I could use for the Friday show?
Not be complacent in the United States and thinking that and taking our prosperity for granted, because if with bad government policy we can run the country into the ground, and that's just something people should bear in mind. Don't take prosperity for granted.
Well, think of
Solar panels are a scam as well. I have solar stuff that works great.
education. So we're ranked at the bottom of every list of the top 40. We're ranked number 40, number 38. Norway, Switzerland, Sweden, different countries are ranked good. Actually, China's pretty close to the top. They're a top 6 or 7, but we're ranked at the bottom, almost at the bottom, 38, 39, 40. In other words, horrible. And yet we spend more per pupil than any other country in the world. So we spend more. And what I'm going to do, one of the first acts, and this is where I need an Elon Musk. I need somebody that has a lot of strength and courage and smarts. I want to close up Department
Gulf City is rated with a party of 22. Thank you so much, G.
of Education, move education back to the states where
Yeah.
where states like Iowa.
Are they anchored to your roof? No, they're foldable solar panels that I have for my solar generator. They work amazingly.
Where states like Idaho, not every state will do great because states that basically aren't doing good now.
We put up solar panels a couple of years ago. They've paid for themselves. Yeah, it seems like a fine supplement.
Look at Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. He's terrible. He does a terrible job. So he's not going to do great with education. But of the
Yeah.
50, I would bet that 35 would do great, and 15
Yeah.
of them, or 20 of them, will be as good as Norway. Norway is considered great.
The roof ones are a scam? I don't think that they are.
You can name them. I mean, they're so good. Some
Yeah.
of these countries are so good. But if you go into some of these really well-run states, we have states that don't know what debt is. We have states that have low taxes, no debt, everybody working. They're really well-run.
Sure.
And maybe they have certain advantages in terms of location, in terms of, the land or the sun.
If I had the money to do it, I would get solar up on my roof for sure.
The sun and the water and the whole thing. There are a lot of advantages.
There's some company, yeah, like Shelly said, I think there are some scam companies, but solar in and of itself is not really a scam.
advantages that some people have. But if you moved education back to the 50, you'll have some that won't do well, but they'll actually be forced to do better because it'll be a pretty bad situation.
Yeah,
But if you think
well,
about it,
yeah,
you'll have some
yeah,
of
yeah,
these states. I'll bet you'd have 30, 35 states. It'll be much better. And you know what it'll cost? Less than
yeah,
half what it is in Washington. And
You have to pay to have them removed to do any roof work. That's not a scam. That's just extra work for the laborers.
these people don't care
well,
about the
yeah,
students in these, faraway states. And it'd
well,
be unbelievable.
yeah. I think you're making a good point in that if the states have to if each state has to compete against other states, then people will
That's
naturally
right.
move to states where it's better.
Well, like
Um,
California, as we said, it's a badly run state. I could go through. I got so many friends that are in those states, even if they're Democrats. I hate to mention certain states, but Illinois is badly run with Pritzker. He's a real loser. But
yeah,
some of these places are just badly run. He's a real loser. But
yeah,
some of these places are just badly run. But it's almost going to force them to run better, and they won't do it good initially. But you're not going to do worse than you're doing right now. And I would say that
yeah,
the cost you would cut your cost by 50 or 60%. And you'd have a little
yeah, yeah,
monitor. You want to make sure they're teaching English as an example. Give us a
yeah.
little English, right?
Sure, yeah.
Right?
No, but
No, wind farms are definitely not a good thing. Wind is stupid, but solar and nuclear, those are 150% the way forward as far as energy is concerned. Nuclear should be the number one thing that we look forward to, but solar for a home, for a generator, for just some supplemental power, absolutely fine.
I mean, some of these governors are doing so badly. I mean, they got so many people moving out of their state. They should get U-Haul Salesman of the Year award because they're driving so much U-Haul
It's
sales.
actually
It's just
amazing.
people moving out.
Isn't it amazing to you as a businessman that they can even survive? Like Illinois, so many people are leaving, and you wonder, how do they survive? I mean, how do they survive? I saw where you left California and you moved to Texas. Texas does a great job. But, I mean,
Yes.
I just wonder, how do these states survive when big businesses, a big oil company just left California, as you know, and they moved to Texas. How do these big states survive?
You'll like the rest of this conversation, Sin? Okay, I'm interested. I've got like a half an hour left before I gotta go. I gotta leave a little early tonight, but yeah, I'm here for it.
When they lose so many businesses and their taxes are already really high, their taxes are among the highest
Yeah.
taxes. You almost wonder, how do they continue on? And in many cases, the governors don't do a good job in their crime-ridden places. You wonder, how do they continue to just go on? It's not
Well,
a good situation.
I think the only thing that's going to force some of these states to change is if they risk bankruptcy and they're not getting bailed out by the federal
Right,
government.
right. Well,
That's
you're
the
going to
only thing
have
that's going to
that.
get them changed.
You remember the
Yeah.
area in California where they had that, where I guess somebody had sticky fingers and they stole a lot of money, and they went into a form of chapter, and it was very nasty
Yeah.
for a period of time. But now it's probably the most popular place in all of California. So at some point, something like that may have to happen. But the problem is, you can't penalize people that loan money to the state when you have incompetent people like a Pritzker. Look, the family didn't want him in the family business, and then he ends up being governor of Illinois. So what is he going to be? Is he going to be a great governor? And
Yeah, I think solar supplemental energy for houses and all that I think that's perfectly acceptable. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and I think it's a fine way to help the environment. It will 100% cut down on your energy costs. Even if you just got a couple of panels, it would cut down by 20-30%, if not more.
you have people, I could name every one of them. I got to know every one of
Yep.
these, and some are very good and some are just horrible.
Well, I think the larger point here, too, as you're saying, like a lot of people are concerned about the economy, a lot of people are concerned about inflation, and inflation is effectively a tax on people that save money,
Yeah.
and for people that are working day to day, it's just a form of taxation. And if we can solve the government spending problem, we'll solve the inflation problem, which means people will have a better standard of living,
Yeah.
and that's a really big
Well,
deal.
the people that got hurt worst are the people that did it the way they were taught to do it all through, their younger life and their young life and their whole life. The people that saved money and then they got no interest on their money and inflation destroyed them. And frankly, they were almost better off if they didn't do anything like that. I mean, those people have been absolutely decimated.
Yeah, it's when people are using agricultural land, farmland, instead of, roofs. We have giant fucking parking garages We have roofs. We have all that stuff. Don't use farmland. Use your land.
And we're going to bring those people back and help those people. We've got to get the prices down. You know, when I look at bacon costing 4 or 5 times more than it did a few years ago, when you look at some of the food products in grocery stores, people go, they can't believe it. They used to be able to buy a whole cart, and today, you know, a lot of people just don't have the money. They go in and they can't buy it.
That's one thing I don't understand is how is there, if the government was really so concerned about global warming, green energy, and all that stuff, why is there not, okay, the state will foot 10% of the bill if you go solar?
Anything. They look at.
Yeah.
Why does Trump have a lisp? I don't know. Maybe he's got those like Zen packs.
It's sticker shock. They call it sticker shock, right?
I think it really just comes, like I said, I think it just comes down to really, I guess, two things, which is that if you solve government overspending, you solve inflation, which improves living standards of the average person, and then if you deregulate, like have sensible regulations, so because a lot of the regulations are nonsensical and cause the cost to be extreme for no reason, but unless you've got effective deregulation, like Reagan did a great job on deregulation in the 80s, but it's been 40 years since we had anyone really, I mean, during your administration.
Exactly, cannibalistic Snorlax. You fix the issue, you can't run on it.
We made some progress, but I think there's an opportunity to make, I think, radical progress with sensible regulation. If
Elon,
those two things, those are the big deals.
We set a record. We did more deregulation and more.
Iraq veteran 8888 said he paid $100K for his solar setup. I mean, that's steep. That's like the cost of half of a house nowadays. But if it's someplace you're going to live, that will pay itself off after a while.
More restrictions on all of the different businesses than any other president. Remember, I had the rule for everyone we put in, you have to get rid of 10 or 12. And we did radical cuts on all of that. And a lot of that's being put back by this administration. And we did radical cuts on things that weren't necessary. But we were all set. You know, we had the best economy ever maybe in the world. And then what happened is COVID came in, and we had to focus on that, and nobody knew what it was. And I always say I got good marks on economy, good marks on military. We knocked out ISIS. We did so many different things. We rebuilt. But, you know, I never got the credit that we really deserved on what we did with COVID. We never got the credit. But had that not happened, a gift from China, from Wuhan, came in from Wuhan, the Wuhan labs, and I always said it, and it turned out to be right. But had that not happened, we were set to start reducing debt. We were going to reduce taxes further. I gave the largest tax cuts, and we were going to reduce taxes still further for middle-income people, not only businesses. But we did it for businesses because they're the ones that's why we had the great job numbers. But we were set to really start reducing debt. And, you know, we're sitting on the biggest pile of liquid gold anywhere in the world, bigger than Saudi Arabia, bigger than Russia. And we were going to drill, and we were going to make so much money. We were going to supply Europe with oil. I had stopped the Russian pipeline, and we were going to supply them with oil and gas. We were going to make a fortune. And then the COVID came in, and we really had to divert. Then what happened is when they came,
I just imagine him doing the accordion. The COVID came in, and we had to divert all of our stuff away. It was terrible. I looked at it, I said, that's awful.
And, you know, we kept a lot of businesses alive. If I didn't do what we did, we would have had a 1929 type depression. But the problem is when Biden came in, he got trillions of dollars and just started spending it stupidly. You didn't need it anymore. You know, we got over that bad period where everybody was dying and, you know, it was just not a good period. Interestingly, you know, during his administration, many more people died during his administration of COVID than during my administration. And we really got the brunt of it. But people don't realize more people died during his administration than ours. But
I wonder if they're going to bring up jab ouchies.
Diverted us from doing what I wanted to do. But we had the greatest for, you know, almost 3 years. We had the great, and you know that probably better than anybody. So many of your friends said to me, the best years we've ever had in business were during the Trump years. And also said that African-American, Hispanic-American were so incredible. They were having the best Asian-American women, men, young people without a diploma, young people that graduated from the best colleges, from MIT, from the Wharton School, from all of the great colleges, Harvard. They were doing better, and people without a diploma were doing better. And everybody was happy. And then COVID came, and we had the problem is they spent trillions and trillions of dollars. They wasted. They shouldn't have taken any money, and we wouldn't be having inflation right now, which is killing our country.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I should probably say something about, like, you know, maybe my views on, you know, climate change and oil and gas, because I think it probably different from what most people would assume, because my views are actually pretty, I think, moderate in this regard, which is that I don't think we should vilify the oil and gas industry and the people that have worked very hard in those industries to provide the necessary energy to support the economy. And if we were to stop using oil and gas right now, we would all be starving and the economy would collapse. So it's, I don't think it's right to sort of vilify the oil and gas industry. And the world has a certain demand for oil and gas, and it's probably better if the United
Oil and gas is literally never going to stop being a high demand product.
States provides that than some other countries, and it would help with prosperity in the U.S. And at the same time, obviously, my view is like we do over time want to move to a sustainable energy economy, because eventually you do run out of. I mean, you run out of oil and gas. It's not there. It's not infinite. And there is some risk. I think it's not, the risk is not as high as a lot of people say it is with respect to global warming. But I think if you just keep increasing the parts per million in the atmosphere long enough, eventually it actually simply gets uncomfortable to breathe. People don't realize this. If you go past 1,000 parts per million of CO2, you start getting headaches and nausea. And so we're now in the sort of 400 range. We're adding, I think, about roughly 2 parts per million per year. So I mean, it still gives us. So what it means is like we still have quite a bit of time. But so there's not like we don't need to rush, and we don't need to stop farmers from farming, or prevent people from having steaks, or
Right.
Stopping farmers from farming because of CO2 while not saying anything about China is fucking wild.
basic stuff like that. Like you can leave the farmers alone.
I agree.
in
How
my
crazy
opinion.
is that? Where
I mean,
you have farmers that are not allowed to farm anymore and have to get rid of their cattle, and the whole world is
yeah,
a
that's
little
silly.
crazy. But it's largely taken its lead from us. I just say though, I've heard in terms of the fossil fuel, because even to create your electric car and create the electricity needed for the electric car, fossil fuel is what really creates that at the generating plants. And so you sort of can't get away from it at this moment. I mean, someday you might be able to, but I do hear we have anywhere from 100 to 500 years left. Much of it hasn't even been found yet.
Yeah.
But there are tremendous, like Anwar. I got Anwar in Alaska approved. Ronald Reagan couldn't do it. Nobody could do it. Everybody tried. Nobody could do it. I got it approved. The first thing that Biden did was unimprove it, to get rid of it. He ended
Yeah.
it. His secretary went in and she ended it. And what a disgrace. That's Anwar. That's bigger, or they think it could be bigger than Saudi Arabia in Alaska. Could be bigger than Saudi Arabia. But they went in and they terminated it. And I'll get it going very quickly, because not only is it
Imagine if we have a better oil reserve than the Saudis. Good Lord.
big for Alaska. I mean, you talk about economic development. That for the United States, I mean, that is, they say bigger than Saudi Arabia or the same size, and pure, really good stuff. And, they end it. So I think we have, perhaps hundreds of years left. Nobody really knows. But during that time, something
my
will
estimate,
come around that will be
yeah.
very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, my estimate would be, a little more aggressive than that, but it's not the sort of like we're all going to die in 5 years stuff. That's obviously BS. But I mean, my view is like if you just look at sort of the parts per million that increments every year, you get sort of 2 or 3 parts per million every year of CO2. I mean, I think some of that it's problematic if it accelerates, if you start going from 2 or 3
Right.
to say 5, and then there may be some situations where you get just a step change increase in the CO2. And I think we don't want to get too close to 1,000 ppm, because like that's actually makes it uncomfortable to breathe. Like just existing in 1,000 ppm CO2 is uncomfortable. That's like that's considered like an industrial hazard.
Right.
Just so it's.
I wonder what the average ppm in India is, or in China around those factories. What do you think that is?
That's actually start getting headaches and stuff. So it's even without global warming, it's not comfortable to live. So you don't want to get too close to that. But I mean, I think we've got. I think we want to just move over, and like, and if I don't know, 50 to 100 years from now, we're I don't know, mostly sustainable. I think that'll probably be okay. So it's not like the house is on fire immediately, but I think it is something we need to move towards. And on balance, it's probably better to move they're faster than slower, but like I said, without vilifying the oil and gas industry, and without causing hardship in the short term. I think this can be done without, but people can still have, a stake, and they can still drive gasoline
Sure.
cars, and it's okay. It's like, it's not. I don't think we should vilify people for it, but I think we should just generally lean in the direction of sustainability. And I actually think solar is going to be a majority of Earth's energy generation in the future. And
For whatever reason, I swear to God, I swear to fucking God, why are we not focusing on nuclear? There are literally no drawbacks.
certainly trending that way. And so you get the solar power, combine that with batteries, so because obviously the sun doesn't shine at night, and then you use that to charge the electric cars, and you have a long-term sustainable solution. And that's what Tesla's trying to move things towards, and I think we've made a lot of progress in that regard. But when you look at our cars, we don't believe that environmentalism, that caring about the environment should mean that you have to suffer. So we make sure that our cars are beautiful, that they drive well, that they're fast, they're sexy. I mean, they're cool. In fact, literally, I mean, the sexy joke, Model S, Model 3, Model X, and Y spells out sexy. It's probably the most expensive joke out there. But I don't know, I like cheesy humor. So, but I'm a big fan of, like, let's have an inspiring future, and let's work towards, a better future, and we.
Solar, really? How is that going to work in a cold state that has winter? I didn't realize the sun disappeared in winter. Sorry. The anti-nuclear propaganda won. Well, the oil and gas stays paid.
Do so without demonizing
Right.
people.
I'm okay. It's very interesting. You use the word global warming, and today they use the word climate change because, you have some places that go up, and so they were getting themselves in a little trouble with the word global warming, because not every place is warming. Some places are going the opposite direction. But, I'm sort of waiting for you to come up with solar panels on the roofs of your cars and on the trunks of the cars. And it just seems like something that at some point you will come up with. I'm sure you'll be the first. But it would seem that a solar panel on the roofs, on flat surfaces, on certain surfaces might be good.
Yeah.
At least in certain areas of the country where you have the world,
Sure.
where you have the sun. But I would think, and I have no idea because that's not my world, but I would think that this would be something that would be interesting. But the one thing that I don't understand is that people talk about global warming or they talk about climate change.
Oh, you know what, Devil Fruit? I think you're right. I think The Simpsons played a big part in why nuclear energy is kind of derided.
But they never talk about nuclear warming. And to me,
Sure.
that's an immediate problem because you have, as I said, 5 countries where you have major nuclear, and probably some others are getting there, and that's very dangerous. That's where you need a strong American president, because you don't want to have this proliferation. But you have 5 countries and getting more. China is much less than us right now, but they're going to catch us sooner than people think. They're way lower. Russia and us are number 1, and I mean, we're sort of tied. And China is far behind, but they're developing at a level that you're not surprised to hear, very fast. They'll end up catching up, maybe even surpassing. But to me, the biggest problem
Yeah, it's just a matter of time.
is not climate change. It's not, and everything's a problem, but it's degrees. To me, the big problem is the nuclear power. The power of nuclear is so great. And when I talk about I'll
nuclear power
prevent
is
world,
underrated. It's
I'll
awesome.
prevent World War III. I will. But the truth is that you have to, because this is no longer army tanks going back and forth and shooting at each other. This is a level of destruction and power that nobody's ever seen before.
Yeah, and actually, there's the bad side of nuclear, which is a nuclear war, very bad side. But there's also, I think,
yes, nuclear war, bad. Nuclear power, good.
Nuclear electricity
Absolutely.
generation is underrated.
You're right.
And it's actually, people have this fear of nuclear electricity generation, but it's actually one of the safest forms of electricity generation. It's just a huge misunderstanding. And if you look at the injuries and deaths, caused by, say, I mean, I'm not trying to pick on coal mining, but just any kind of mining operation. And there's a certain number of injuries and deaths per year. You compare that to nuclear. Nuclear is actually way better. So it's underrated as an electricity source, and I think it's something that's worth reconsidering. But there's so much regulation that people can't get it done. So that
maybe they'll have to change the name. The name is it's a rough name. There are some areas like when you see what happened in
bad branding.
We'll have to rebrand it. We'll have to give it a good name. We'll name it after you or something. No, it has a branding problem. When you see what happened,
it does have a branding problem.
When you see what happened in Japan, where they say you won't be able to go on the land for about 3,000 years. Did you ever see that? And in Russia, where they had the problem, where they, there's a lot of bad things happened, and they have a problem. And they say that
the worst thing that happened with the Chernobyl incident was the state that fucking destroyed it. That made everything so much fucking worse.
In 2,000 years, people will start to occupy the land again. You realize it's pretty bad.
No, that's not true.
But you're
Well,
right
no,
about it. It's
it's
amazing.
it's actually not that bad. So like after Fukushima happened in Japan, like people were asking me in California, are we worried about like a nuclear cloud coming from Japan? I'm like, no, that's crazy. It's actually it's not even dangerous in Fukushima. I actually flew there and ate locally grown vegetables on TV to prove it. And I donated a solar water treatment, a solar powered system for a water treatment plant. And
Yeah, but you haven't
because the
been
danger
feeling
is
so
just
well lately, and I'm worried about it.
no, but I mean,
I'm
it's just
only kidding.
it's fine, It's like Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombed, but now they're like full cities again. So
Right.
it's
Well, that's
really
great.
not
That's
something
great.
that.
That's great.
So it's not as scary as people think, basically. But
Yeah.
let's see. I mean, are there some other topics we should touch on? Like lawfare. I think
Well,
we need to be concerned about.
what they've done to this country.
Obviously,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we just won the big
I mean,
case in Florida. This was a Biden administration did something that's never been done in this country, and that's go after their political opponent, me, with this nonsense and just nonsense. And the big case in Florida we won, but they always pick a judge and a jury, and they use local DAs, they use the local attorney generals like Fani, Fani, spelled
yeah,
Fani, Fani, and it's
yeah,
all a big hoax, and it's all run from there. Like in Manhattan, the one of the top people from the Justice Department went in, ran Manhattan, ran the state. The Letitia James deal was run by a person from the Department of Justice, Biden. They've never done this before,
sure,
and they set up a very bad precedent. It's called lawfare, warfare.
yeah,
It's a terrible thing, and never happened in our country. It does happen in banana republics and third world countries, but it's never
yeah,
happened. And the incredible thing is, it actually drove my numbers up because people see. Fortunately, I have a platform like you, or in all fairness, like a conversation like this, where I can talk about it and people understand. I mean, you fight for election integrity, and you end up getting indicted because you're fighting for election integrity. And when the day comes that you can't fight for election integrity, you don't have a country anymore. So what happens? What
yeah,
happens is they went after their political opponent, me. Now Biden's close to vegetable stage, in my opinion. Okay, I looked at him today on the beach, and I said, why would anybody allow him? The guy could barely walk. Why would anybody allow him? Does
yeah,
he have a political advisor that thinks this looks good? He thinks this looks good because it looks so bad, and it's ridiculous. I mean, and he's been doing that
right.
for a long time. He can't lift the chair. The chair weighs about 3 ounces. It's meant for children and
Hmm.
old people to lift, and he can't
Yeah.
lift it. The whole thing is
Well,
crazy.
he's clearly not.
It's insane.
I mean, he's clearly like we just don't have a president right
You
now.
don't
That's
have a
just obviously
president,
the
and
case.
she's going to be worse than him
Um,
because
No, that's what fucks me up is right now we don't have a president.
she is a San Francisco liberal who destroyed San Francisco, and then as Attorney General, she destroyed California. You talk about location, and we're talking about the sun and the water and all. There's nothing better than California. She has destroyed that. She was the original DA. She was the original in San Francisco. She was the original Attorney General in California. What she has done to California is, well, you know better than I do. You just left California for a lot of those reasons. And what she's done with crime, with cashless bail, where you kill somebody. I mean, we have states now you kill somebody and they let you out right away. I mean, you don't have to even put up, and then they never find the people unless they kill again, and then they let them out again. Our
yeah,
country is becoming a very dangerous place. And she is a radical left San Francisco liberal. And now she's trying to protect. Now she's looking like she wants to be more Trump than Trump, if that's possible. I don't think it's possible, but she wants to be more Trump than
well,
Trump.
yeah.
I want a wall.
I think that's
She
yeah,
wants to release all the
yeah,
prisoners that are in detention, and some of these guys are really bad.
right.
That just came
Yeah, I
out
just saw
today.
that.
She
Yeah,
doesn't want to build the wall, even though the walls work. Walls and wheels. In your business, everything you do is obsolete. Almost, well, not the tunnels, but everything is obsolete. Even your rocket ships. They're like a month later, they're obsolete. You find a better way to. The only thing that's not obsolete is a wall and a wheel.
Whew,
And
sorry.
the wall.
Big sneeze.
I built hundreds of miles of wall, and that's why we had such good numbers. I was going to add 200
yeah,
miles. We bought it. We could have flipped it up in 3 weeks, and they sold it for 5 cents on the dollar. That meant I said, "Wow, that means that they actually do want to have open borders." She wants to have open borders, and now she's going like she's tough on the border. It's such a lie.
yeah. This is simply not true.
Yeah,
This is simply
no,
not.
This is the Trump we need to see out on stage. This is the guy who needs to be out.
and
True.
everybody
Yeah,
knows
it's
it's
really
not
not
true.
true.
It's a disgrace that she can
Yeah.
say it.
No, I mean, obviously, what's happening sort of overnight is they're rewriting history and making Kamala sound like a moderate when in fact she is far left, like far
Worse
left.
than Bernie Sanders. She is considered more
Yeah,
liberal by far than Bernie Sanders. She's a radical left lunatic. And if she's going to be our president, very quickly, you're not going to have a country anymore. And she'll go back to all of
Yeah,
the things that she believes in. She believes in defunding the police. She believes in no fracking, zero. You don't. Now all of a
yeah,
sudden she's saying, no, I will. I really want to see fracking. If they got in, the day she got in, she'll end fracking. And by the way, if people didn't think that, the lunatics that really believe in that, they won't vote for her. Like the
yeah,
Palestinians and Israel. She is so anti-Israel, and she's bad for both. Biden actually did something that was impossible. Both sides hate him. Both sides.
He did a damn good job of making both sides hate him too.
That was a hard
yeah.
thing to do. Unification.
Yeah, no. Netanyahu came to give a talk to a joint Senate and House sitting, and I was there, and Kamala stood him up. What does that say?
I think it's highly
That's
disrespectful. And I say, if you're a Jewish person or if you believe in Israel, if you're a person that, is very pro-Israel, if you vote for her, it's worse than Biden. And Biden was bad. But if you vote for her, you ought to have your head examined. And you see tonight, as we're doing this, I'm seeing reports coming that they expect an attack tonight or tomorrow from hundreds and maybe thousands of rockets. Their Iron Dome, as they call it, as we all call it, but their shield that they built, that can be swamped. We'll use the term that's
yeah,
appropriate, swamped. But they
yeah.
swamp it by shooting enough missiles. You know this better than anybody. By shooting enough missiles,
Sure.
they can't defend themselves. They just obliterate the whole
Yeah.
place. And that's what some people think they're looking to do. And we have no leadership. There's no respect for the United States of America with these people. And I'm telling you,
Yeah.
she'll be worse than him because she's a believer
Yeah, no,
in
I
being
think you're
radical
right.
left, and he wasn't.
I think you're right. It's important for the public that may be listening to this to look at Kamala's track record, before the last month, and say, is that a track record you agree with? And I think if you're an independent moderate, you definitely would not agree with it, because it is her behavior has been far left, and we're seeing just an overnight
I'm not exactly a moderate. I'd say I'm libertarian. I lean right. I'm left on a lot of issues. But I don't think Kamala represents any of my interests well, especially not on the economy.
propaganda attempt to rewrite history and make it sound like Kamala is moderate when she in fact is not moderate.
Well, her
so I
her
think
running
that-
mate approved, signed into legislation, tampons in boys' bathrooms. Okay, now
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
all
that's
I have
weird.
to hear. Tampons in
That's
boys'
weird.
bathrooms, and that means she believes
Yeah.
in that too.
Yeah, that's
She
not
picked
okay.
this guy because he was the closest to her. A lot of people thought she'd pick sort of the opposite, but she picked an anti-Israel radical left person. But she is far worse, they say, than Bernie Sanders. If we have her as a president, if we have a Democrat at this moment as a president, I don't think our country can survive.
I think it's a massive. I think we're in massive trouble, frankly, with the Kamala administration, and that's my honest opinion. And I think really it's essential that you win for the good of the country for this election. And that's understating my opinion. Now you may have seen this, but I got a letter from the EU Commission saying to not have disinformation on during this discussion that we're having, and there's a lot of attempts to do censorship and to force censorship even on Americans from other countries, and what do you think about that?
Well, I know the European Union very well. They take great advantage of the United States in trade, as you know. We, through a different forum, NATO, we protect them. And yet, if you build a car
Yet we have to pay for all of NATO.
in the United States, you can't sell it in Europe. You just can't sell it. It's impossible. The same thing with our farmers. Our farmers find it very difficult to do business. We have a deficit with them of $250 billion, which people don't know. It sounds so nice, the European Union, but let me tell you, they're not as tough as China, but they're bad. And I let them know it. And that's probably why they notified you. No, they don't treat our country well. We defend them. With Ukraine, so we're in for 250 billion, and they're in for about 71 billion, and they have.
Well, that's just our president, wherever he may be, deciding that we should be giving our money out like that. But guys, that's it. I got to get out of here. I have to do some stuff tonight. So thank you for coming and hanging out. Make sure you're around tomorrow for the Sin and Sash stream, and then the AAA over on Polydub's channel. If you want to continue watching this, you know where to find it. I will see you all tomorrow.